I'm Rob Licuria, Senior Editor at Gold Derby, here with Academy Award winner Penelope Cruz. Penelope, just like previous characters like Maria Elena and Raimunda, you often play volatile, strong but vulnerable women. Are you attracted to women like that to play them naturally? Or is it just a coincidence?
I guess it's a coincidence, but maybe not all the way, because it's the kind of material that I feel attracted to. Is whatever is going to wake up my compassion and my feeling that that story has to be told, because it represents so many women in similar situations in the world. Like the same with Ferrari, it's like a necessity. When you read something like that, is it becomes more than making a movie. It just becomes like a personal thing of I feel very lucky to be able to give her a voice, a woman that really didn't have one.
Yeah, you're right. I didn't really know much about Laura Ferrari, to be honest. I'm wondering if you were in the same boat. Did you know much about her when you signed on to the project?
No, because when I started my research with Michael, we realized there was very little about her. There were a couple of books where parts of their love story were mentioned, but very ambiguous. So we went to Modena together to interview a lot of people that knew them, also to see the apartment where they lived. And I didn't like that every time I met somebody that knew her, they would want to change the subject, and they would say, oh no, she was a lot of trouble, she had a very difficult personality, and she was just she was crazy. And then I got to some letters from their uh, personal doctor and friend that they saw almost every week. He had some letters from them, some love letters, and I got to understand a lot about their relationship and about who this woman was. And and also he told me a lot of details about her passion for Ferrari, for the company that they created together. She was not an engineer. She maybe didn't know about that much about the cars, but it was her passion. It was like another baby for them, and he always knew that, and he was in his way, and as much as also he would be allowed to give her a place, he tried, not a lot of effort, but he tried to give her some place. But deep in his heart, he knew that she did a lot for the company. She would sleep with the tires in the days of the races, so nobody could break the tires or steal them. And she sold a very expensive object, that probably the only one they had, like from the wedding. And she sold it and put that money into the company, into Ferrari. And when I would tell people in the street about that, they would just wanted to dismiss her and say, no, no, she was just crazy. And no, she was a woman that was very, very depressed because she lost her son out of an illness. And out of that, she lost the relationship because they could never recover from that pain. There was a lot of betrayal because he had another relationship and another son. And most of the people knew in Modena, but she didn't. So she was just a survivor. Every day was about surviving that day. And one thing that I think kept her going was the company. She
Yeah.
controlled all the finances, and she had an incredible eagle eye, and she made sure that nobody was lying, and really, really controlling, like he was. So they had that in common, about the attention to detail and the need for control, and that was the only way to make a company like that survive. The
Yeah.
company almost fell apart many times. So I discovered so many wonderful things about her that it became like I was telling you, like a personal thing of, I have to give voice to this woman who represents so many women around the world, like even today, in so many places around the world. In those years, even more, but still today, I mean, things have not changed that much in some areas and in
Yeah.
some professions.
It's so true. I've always known about Il Commendatore, right? And we know his place in modern society and Ferrari, but I never knew anything about Laura. And I think that is the surprising part about this film, because to me, the beating heart of the film really is Laura and her story. It's about this marriage, it's about her grief. So I'm wondering, once you get to know her, what did you also have to do just to get your mind in that frame of mind to play someone who is so desperately devastated and depressed over the grief over the death of her son?
Mm-hmm. Spending time there with Michael and with Adam and talking to the people there and seeing the right locations, the real locations, the real apartment, the factory, the books, the financing books also, if you saw Enzo's office, also you realized what controlling and obsessive he was. But also I think, like I was telling you before, I think they had that in common, and that was like a big part of their connection. um but there were things that were like key for me, like when I saw the wallpaper of the real apartment, and I thought, like, a woman that was so depressed but chose that paper with so many colors and so busy, and so like it had a very strong impact on me to be in the real place and in the room. You could feel like such a heavy energy. And then the fact that one of the first days we had to shoot the scene, bringing flowers to their son in the real place, in the cemetery where the family allowed us to shoot. So that was a lot of information that you cannot put into words, but you are there and you are feeling the pain of that woman that also represents the pain of any woman or any a man in the world. That the worst thing that can happen to a human being, no, to
Yeah.
lose a child. So things like that were very important for us to also to develop like a huge amount of respect for them, because when you are playing real people, is, I mean, even if Laura is not alive anymore, but there is something that feels very sacred, like, okay, you are talking about the life of a real person, and her husband, their son. So then of course it's a very intense process, but it's not for you, it's for somebody else. And I feel like that gives you the energy you need to keep going every day. Like for Adam and I, we had, like, a lot of tough scenes that were 8 pages of dialogue, of fight, so much pain, so much resentment, and we needed to really trust each other to go into that place. Like, there was no time for, not even, hi, how are you, how did you sleep. It was just like boom, and we had to stay in that state for 14, 16 hours. But then it's not about you, it's about something bigger, and you just want to try to give as much truth as you can.
Yeah. I want to talk about the scene for me that when I realized what the film was really about. And that's when Laura storms into the cemetery with her fresh flowers to visit the grave. This
Mm.
range of emotions flash over your face as Laura has a fully realized conversation with her dead son without uttering a single word. I was just so
Mhm.
blown away by that, by Michael Mann's choice to direct you in that way, and for your choices in what you did. And I'm just wondering what you thought about that scene before you filmed it, and was it difficult to get right?
I didn't have to think about it, just to really put myself in the, try to go there for that hour or 2 hours, whatever time we were there, like try to go there and just put my heart in that, in what that would feel like, knowing that there was the safety net of the fiction, but there was somebody real there, like from the past, and the pain was in that room. So I just had to connect with that and look at his picture. But the amazing thing is how Michael created that space and that freedom for us. And you could not hear anybody talking in that day for hours and hours. The respect from everyone in the room for the place where we were, for the generosity of the family to let us shoot there, and what Michael creates for us. Because of course, everyone knows he's tough, like he can be very tough, but then he has an amazing side of kindness, and he loves actors. Like, it doesn't matter if you're there for one day and you have one line. Like, he would treat everybody the same, and give you a lot of time to help you to be in the right place, in the right frequency for that scene. And I really respect, that he is such a hard worker, and so, like, every single detail matters so much for him. And I feel like I'm used to that way of working because of Pedro. Like, for me, they are the real artisans of cinema, and cinema cannot lose that, because this life that we're living nowadays, everything has to be that so fast. But I don't think movies can be made that way, or they can, but they won't have the same magic, whatever the soul can detect as magic. And I feel like they are great examples, like them and Scorsese, and there are Spielberg, obviously, like some great examples of a beautiful artisanal way. I don't know if you can use that word.
Yeah.
That way of working, where it's a different timing, where it's different rhythm, where everything matters, every layer, every single detail will matter. So when I am on the set with somebody like that, I feel so blessed, and I feel like I want all the younger generations to get inspired by that, and to never lose respect for that, because they know that there is a reason for that rhythm. There is a reason why sometimes you would need 20 takes, and maybe other days he would say, okay, we've done 3 or 4 and we have it. But some days it would be maybe 30. But there is a reason for that. And they give so much. I think if you are lucky enough to be able to make movies, you have to have that, I mean, those values and that work ethic. Because there is a lot of people out there also with talent that want to have that opportunity, and it's very hard to get those first opportunities. And they are like great examples of, like, Michael is a great example of, okay, it really needs extremely hard work and dedication, and you cannot do this halfway.
Yeah, that's true. And at the Gotham Awards recently, there was a tribute to Michael, and he's one of the common themes about what the cast and crew were talking about was his focus on the internal lives of his characters on his films. And I mean, that is so true for Laura, particularly. A lot of what you're doing is internal. I'm curious then, given your experience in this industry with amazing directors like Almodovar, um, did you learn anything new about yourself and about the way that you approach a character from Michael, particularly?
With Michael,
Yeah.
yes, and I would say it's more like a personal things that maybe I cannot repeat, because I would have to tell you the entire story to understand why that had such a meaning for me.
Yeah.
And it has to do with the reasons why he's tough sometimes. And I would ask him, like, the people that I admire and respect, like, I ask them a lot of questions about why this and why that, and how would you react to this situation, and I see what they would do. um and very, very, very interesting. But of course, you learn on a technical level, on as an actor, like all the details that he looks at, and that he wants you to know everything. I went so many times to the factory to look at how they create the engine. It doesn't matter if he would take me 30 times. I still would get out of there and know nothing about cars. But that was not important for Laura. Thank God I had to know about all other things. And that was more for Adam. But cars are not my thing. I would say, like, wow, this is really interesting, but I would be more interesting in the books that they kept about, like, um everything every car did every single second, of every race, like, because it said so much about their character, or
Yeah.
the financing the books that she kept.
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, everything matters to have time, and you can feed yourself with information from all the areas related to their lives. Um, yeah, I don't know if that answers
Yeah, it
the
did.
question
It
I
did.
went.
Um, I want after I finished watching Ferrari and learned so much more about Laura, it reminded me, of course, of your Oscar-winning performance as Maria Elena in Vicky Cristina Barcelona. And if people may not remember, but that was the year that there were five actresses on the stage, tributing each of the nominees. So beautiful. And you had Angelica Houston, who talked about how you're so good at conveying emotion with such clarity. And I just then wonder, this was a little while ago now, but what was your fondest memory of that night? Because, I mean, that's one of the highlights of your career to date.
Yes, it was incredible, and the adrenaline. I was so nervous that I feel like I only remember a quarter of what happened. It really is really true. I remember I came out there and I called my father in that hallway where you have the pictures of many winners over the years, and because my mom was there with me, but my dad wasn't. And I called him, and then I called Pedro, and I remember like then eating a In-N-Out burger, and then ending up at my friend's Gaio Sirius house. And when I walked into his house, I saw a sofa, and there was Scorsese, De Niro, Al Pacino, Harvey Keitel, Leo, like all of them together. And I looked, and it was like too much to take, so I ran away because I felt like I got so nervous and shy, like to see all of them together. It was an image that I will never forget.
I can imagine. And, you know, um, when you were in Parallel Mothers, right? That whole Oscar season, so many of us fans of the film and of you, of course, wanted to see you nominated. But it was touch and go, and you'll recall that it's like a horse race now, and you see who wins the previous awards, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if Penelope's going to do it this time. What a shame! But years after your last nomination for Nine, and of course for Volver, one of my favorite films of all time,
Thank
you
you.
got the nomination. And I was just wondering how you felt, years later, you're still working really well, you're doing beautiful performances, but you're recognized for this performance in Parallel Mothers.
I felt like I couldn't believe it. I mean, there is a video of that reaction that I feel like one day I have to share, because the fact that my husband and I were nominated the same year was, when we started our careers together. When I was 17, he was 21, and then that happened. I really could not believe it. Like every time it has happened to me, I have felt like if it was the first time, and eh, completely shocked. Like, I come from a place and from a very humble family. Like, we didn't know any actors, anybody that had a job related to art, anybody that could make a living out of that. We did not know that those people, we'd never met them. So for me, when I was saying as a little girl, I want to be either an actress or a dancer, but then it was like, no, 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 no. I discovered Pedro and Billy Wilder, Meryl Streep, and I was like, no, 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 no. I know I want to be an actress. I want to try. It was like saying to my parents, I want to be an astronaut. It was the same thing. They didn't invalidate me, and they said, okay, you can try, but it's going to be very, very, very difficult. And the fact that they didn't laugh and that they didn't stop me from trying, I think that's why, because of my childhood and the life that I had in all those years, also my teenager years, was so different, and so it was only a huge dream. I feel that's why every time something like this happens, like the other day at the Gotham
Yeah.
Awards, to get that nomination for Ferrari, I feel like, how is this possible? Like, I swear to you, I keep getting as surprised as the first time, and I never want to lose that feeling,
Mm-hmm.
because
Yeah,
you can never
special.
take that for granted. And
That's right. It could all be over tomorrow, but I have a feeling it won't be. And I want to
Thank you.
say thank you for your time and also for this really beautiful, difficult performance as Laura Ferrari. I really loved it.
Oh, thank you so much. It means a lot. Thank you so much.